Hello and welcome to day 2 of the Disney Challenge. I am still Gemma and he is still
Luke?
I'd also like to say I'm not wearing the same shirt. Well, I am wearing the same shirt as I was yesterday, but I'm just putting it on for these videos. I don't just live in one jumper. So with that out of the way, the quick recap of the rules. We are ranking 49 of the Disney films because we're not doing any of the anthologies like Fantasia or any of the shorts that are filmed, so like Make My Music and Melody Time and stuff like that. Yesterday we did Snow White. What did you give Snow White, Luke?
I gave it a 7.
And I gave it a 3. So with those scores we combine them to make a 10 out of the 20, and then once we've done all of the films that we're going to do, we're going to add up all of the points between us and make a definitive ranking of which one we collectively found to be our favourite film and least favourite film. So let's get on to film number 2, and I'm going to hand this one over to Luke.
Pinocchio, the puppet that wanted to be a boy. I'm very fond. I can relate to him due to the size of my nose. I've told a few lies in my lifetime. Again, one of the very first ones, so for that it gets props. Also, not about a princess. So I know this early on in Disney that doesn't really offer much for discussion, but I'm going to point it out.
Pinocchio has one of the most notable Disney characters of all time, which is Jiminy Cricket.
Also, great thing to say in an argument. Jiminy Cricket, just if you're ever surprised, just shout at Jiminy Cricket. It goes down really well.
And one of the most iconic Disney songs of all time, which is When You Wish Upon a Star, which is just everywhere. To say it was however many years ago, 1940s I think it came out, 42 maybe, that's probably wrong. It's still used widely to this day, and I'm pretty sure every Disney fan or even casual Disney fan knows the song When You Wish Upon a Star.
Pinocchio's more episodic than Snow White. It's kind of... The story's a little bit confusing because it doesn't actually have a central villain. It's about Pinocchio drifts, and at first he ends up with Gideon and the actors. And Walt Disney hates actors. I tell you what, he makes our actors like they are the scum of the earth in this film. And as someone that knows a lot of actors, I agree. And then Gideon tricks Pinocchio for a bit, and Pinocchio gets away, and then ends up in Pleasure Island. And then there's a whole...
Does he go straight to Pleasure Island from there?
There's things along the way. Like I said, it's quite episodic, and it's like... So it's more Pinocchio going from problem to problem, and there's a new villain with each problem. For that reason, there isn't a running villain, and I think maybe...
Well, there kind of is. So Stromboli, or Stromboli, however you want to pronounce his name, is the main villain of Pinocchio.
Okay, yeah, so I guess if we're talking main villain, he would be in it, but Gideon, the head of the actors, has more screen time. And then for the end of the film,
But he works for Stromboli, Gideon and Foulfellow, which is the other actor, by the way. They both work for Stromboli.
Okay, I appreciate that point, but maybe it's just because the finale goes away from all that, and we end up with Monstro the whale, who then he becomes the main villain.
Which is like Luke's favourite Disney villain.
Monstro I love everything about Monstro. I don't know if it's just because it was one of the Disneys I watched when I was really young, so it's imprinted on me, but as soon as they're in the water, Pinocchio is a pitch perfect film for me. The pacing of working up to Monstro, just the artwork, when they're underwater and that whole kind of physical nature of it all, I just love it. And Monstro is also, when you see whales in cinema, they're the most peaceful creatures ever. Monstro as an axe to grind, and I'm always fascinated by it. And if you make me watch Pinocchio, a lot of the times I will choose just to skip to the last scene and just enjoy it as a short.
So kind of the complete opposite. The only scene that I kind of enjoy, really not the only scene, I like the end, is the Gideon and Foulfellow scene. And I think it's probably because I'm an actor, kind of, yeah. But I really like those characters. I like whenever they're in the parks, I'm like super excited to see Gideon and Foulfellow. I love their song. Like, it's an actor's life for me. I used to sing that song constantly with my mum and dad growing up. I would like to personally thank Gideon and Foulfellow for showing me what a great life an actor's life can be.
Again, when we're discussing the classic Disneys, it's what's tracked. As Gemma said, you've got the iconic song, you've got Jiminy Cricket, you've got the telling the lies and your nose gets bigger. That's all tracked. And Pleasure Island, that whole scene where the boys get turned into donkeys and carted away, that sticks in the mind. It's the fact that it doesn't explain where. So Pinocchio gets saved, but then the rest of the donkeys just carted away.
Yeah, it like never brings back what happened to his friend whose name I completely forget right now. And we presume that he just stays a donkey. And that all the boys that turn into donkeys are still donkeys, like, and Stromboli's just still off doing his thing. Like, it never really, like... Then, like, the villains kind of aren't particularly reprehended, I guess. Monstro is.
I guess the thing with Pinocchio, and again, maybe this is the reason there isn't a central villain, is that the villain is, like, kind of the darker side of humanity. Like, the villain is the fact that the boys want to smoke, they want to have fun, they want to basically be bad, and like the villains almost just give them what Disney thinks they deserve. So in many ways that's why the villains aren't punished, because if you're going to go off and be an actor, you kind of had it coming.
Yeah, it's terrifying, and I guess at its heart, like most fairy tales, are a morality tale, and Pinocchio is one that you can very literally see the morality tale there. It's Pinocchio, if you lie, your nose is going to grow. Also, if you do bad things, you're not going to get to be a real boy. You have to be a good little puppet to be a real boy. And you've got Jiminy Cricket there who acts as his conscience, because obviously he doesn't have a conscience. And all the while, Jiminy Cricket is like, no, Pinocchio, let's not go off with these weird actor types that have just come in and sang you a nice song and have convinced you that go be an actor, don't go to school. Don't do that, that's bad. And then Pinocchio's like, well, actually, I want to be an actor. School sounds super boring. And as somebody who made that life choice, I wish I'd listened to my Jiminy Cricket. And then Jiminy Cricket's like, why don't we not go to Pleasure Island? Why don't we not do this drinking and smoking and go off with this creepy little puppet master? Because he's shown you a girl puppet and you're all like, oh, girls! But then, no, he does. He goes and does that anyway. And it's, in the end, he is rewarded by becoming a real boy. I can't actually remember why. I just remember Geppetto being super sad that his puppet son had drowned. And then the blue fairy came along and was like, oh, well, he sacrificed his life or something. So there, you can be a real boy. So, marks out of 10. I will go first. See, I have so many issues with Pinocchio because it's terrifying and like puppets, man. So just no, I'm gonna give it 2, and that's literally just for Jiminy Cricket and the actors and Cleo, the goldfish. Like, sorry, it's a 2 just because it is. I would never happily sit down and rewatch that film.
I'm surprised at that. You seem to talk about it in a nicer way than you were talking about Snow White yesterday, so I kind of I thought it might get higher than what you gave Snow White.
No, sorry, no.
Pinocchio is tricky. I love it because it was one of the first ones I watched, and like it's got loads of fun childhood memories for me. But again, I'm like, do I like it or do I just like the last scene?
I mean, if you were rating Monstro, you'd give him a 10.
If I was rating Monstro, but because I'm rating the film a 6.
Oh, so we both gave it 1 less than we gave Snow White yesterday.
Snow White gets props for being first. I'd probably... The truth is, I would... If you made me sit down and pick which one I was going to watch, I'd probably pick Pinocchio, but I think Snow White was the bigger achievement, so it gets the better mark.
I'll give you a fun fact. Okay, fun fact. In the Disney parks, Pinocchio is more than likely played by a girl because of the height. Same with Jiminy Cricket. I mean, they're real. Don't hate me. Anyway, and with that bombshell, we're off. Have a magical rest of your day.